Hi, my name's Morgan Dundon, and I'm a fourth year PhD student in material science and engineering, and I am the content creation committee chair for UCR Science to Policy. And today I have with me Agnes Varghese, who is our external affairs committee chair, and I have William Ota with me as well, and he is our government relations committee chair. So I wanted to ask them a few questions about our experience in UCR Science to Policy and the things we've learned. So to start off, I just want to start off with what you think are the most valuable skills that you've learned in S2P so far. And Agnes, we can start with you.
Yeah, so for me, one of the very important skills that I've learned is learning how to collaborate with policymakers. So as scientists, we come in to work with them and we have these very data-driven ideas, but at the same time, they have responsibilities that they need to meet towards their constituents and towards other individuals as well. So making sure that we are collaborating with them in a way that works towards meeting those goals and they're benefiting them in that way. Has really been something that I have been learning throughout this process.
Yeah, absolutely. And what about you, Will?
Yeah, I have something that's very similar to Agnes, but I really think that learning how to build partnerships between different groups who maybe have different goals when you're working on a policy or an idea is really, really important. And I think by learning how to identify stakeholders, identifying the weaknesses and strengths of the policy or proposal you're working on, and then finding a way to build compromises between them has been really, really valuable. And it helps me not just when I'm doing science policy, but when I'm working with collaborators or other groups as well in my research career.
Yeah, I agree. And I kind of think something that ties both of your answers together is kind of how communication is like the foundation of building those relationships, because that would be something I would also say is just that skill of being able to distill, especially research information, into what's the most important impacts of what you're doing, I think is super important.
Absolutely.
Yeah, and we also do a lot of cool projects and events in Science to Policy, so I'm also curious about like what your favorite event or project has been so far.
For me, I feel like there's so many cool things that we have done in Science to Policy, but one thing that maybe I would count as one of my recent favorites is setting up a fellowship with the local assembly member's office in San Bernardino. So I don't know if you're familiar, but last year, San Bernardino became the first county in California to declare racism as a public health crisis. And that's when I started working with this office and really being able to use my scientific skill set in order to conceptualize what exactly is going on in that area, how are they experiencing racism, and how do we move forward. That has definitely been a rewarding process.
Yeah, and hopefully it'll help, propel your career forward and kind of let you explore like what options are out there. And you will?
Yeah, well, I think the most exciting thing is when Science and Policy has been working to become a center in the UC system. But my personal favorite project is when we had a mock California committee hearing. So we brought in actual California legislative staffers and committee staffers, and they helped us put on a committee hearing for undergraduates and graduate students on UC Riverside's campus. And we were able to really teach students how the committee scientific testimony process works, how bills move through a committee, and then also sort of what legislators are thinking of when they hear these different pieces of information or comments from the public at these hearings. And that's like a really important way for legislation to move through the California Assembly, and learning more about that and just sort of being able to put that together for our campus, I think was just amazing. And it has to be my favorite project we've done so far.
I would have to agree with you. I would say that that's also my favorite that we've done, and the fact that it was such a popular event that then the UCR Board of Trustees wanted us to do a very similar but smaller private event with them. So we basically got to do it again and like really practice our skills for giving testimony in hearings, which was very cool. And I think the last question I want to ask is basically how has your experience with S2P impacted your ideas for your career plans? Since that's a huge goal of ours, is obviously to train graduate students and hopefully get them interested in careers in science policy.
In terms of my career, I guess, uh, when I was first introduced to the Science to Policy program, I think it came at the perfect time because I was losing a lot of motivation in graduate school and just trying to figure out what is the point of all of this. And so Science to Policy really helped me see what the greater purpose was. And now I know that whatever career path I end up in, I want an element of policy in it because I want our science to be used as a foundation to affect actual positive change in our society.
Yeah, that sounds great to me. What about you, Will?
Yeah, so I actually have already started doing a little bit of preparation. I recently took on a position with the National Science Policy Network as their scholarship program coordinator, developing classes and other training opportunities for graduate students to explore policy careers and get training in how to engage in science policy. So I think I want to continue doing that and working with groups to expand the field and training opportunities for graduate students in STEM and other scientific disciplines on how to engage with policymakers and then use that as part of my own academic and research career.
Paying it
That's
forward.
great. Yeah, exactly. That's great. I think a huge benefit to this program is just the fact that we get exposed to lots of different speakers who are in all different kinds of areas of science policy and just give us ideas that there's a lot more to do outside of just, academic research, which is great. Well, thank you guys so much for, having this conversation with me and chatting about our experience in S2P.
Thank you, Morgan.
Yeah, thanks for having us.